You probably know that you were made from your mom and dad. You got 23 chromosomes from your mom and 23 from your dad. Any organism that gets more than half from mom and half from dad would die. Or would they? Normally, humans have two sets of chromosomes, one from your mom and one from your dad. We call this diploid, since di means two and ploid means having to do with chromosomes, or pieces of DNA. Think of this concept like a deck of cards. Each deck has 4 suits, so a normal deck of cards would have 4 sets of chromosomes. We are diploid, so our bodies only get 2 suits of cards. Any organism with more than 2 sets of chromosomes is called a polyploid. Before we understand polyploidy, we need to understand a little about how our bodies make new cells, particularly sperm and eggs, or gametes. All of our other cells are diploid, so when gametes are made, they need to be haploid, or have only one set of chromosomes, so when the sperm and egg fuse, the new organism can be diploid again. However, during this process, sometimes something goes wrong. The most common occurrence is when one new gamete gets 2 copies of the chromosomes. This can happen when females make eggs or when males make sperm. When an egg with 2 sets of chromosomes fuses with a normal haploid sperm, the resulting cell has 3 sets of chromosomes, or is triploid. Now, every cell in that new organism will be triploid. For most animals, this is extremely detrimental, and the organism won't survive. Plants tend to tolerate polyploidy better and even flourish with such intense genetic changes. Let's look at some examples of polyploidy in plants and animals. Scientists have hypothesized that 2/3 of flowering plants are polyploids. Most ferns and grasses are polyploids, and even crops that we enjoy every day, such as potatoes, apples, sweet potatoes, and strawberries. Bananas make for an interesting example. Bananas are triploids, and typically triploid organisms do not make the sperm or eggs needed to reproduce, making them effectively sterile. That means you can't get banana seeds to make more bananas. Farmers cut off shoots from the side of the plant before it produces fruit and dies, and propagate the bananas asexually. There are many fewer species of polyploid animals than plants. The exact reason for this is not entirely known. Some scientists think that it might have to do with the increased complexity of animal body plans in comparison to plants. Others suggest polyploidy may interfere with gamete formation, cell division, or regulation of the genome. However, there are some exceptions in fish, reptiles, and insects. A specific example of polyploidy in action is the triploid trout. In Idaho, the cutthroat trout is the state fish, but other fish, like the rainbow trout, were introduced into the area. Conservationists wanted to prevent the rainbow trout from breeding with the cutthroat trout to preserve their species. The solution? Create a triploid rainbow trout that can't reproduce using polyploidy. So how did scientists manage this? It turns out that fish reproduce slightly differently than humans. Eggs start as diploid and sperm as haploid. When the cells fuse, the new cell kicks out the 3rd set of chromosomes, so the new fish can be diploid. However, if the last set of chromosomes isn't kicked out, the new fish will become triploid and unable to reproduce. Scientists took advantage of this by exposing the fish eggs to warm water in a hatchery, preventing the extra chromosomes from being kicked out. The now triploid and sterile fish could then be introduced to the river without fear of them mating with the local cutthroat population. There is only one example of polyploidy in mammals, the red Vizcacha rat, living in Argentina. This adorable rodent has 4 sets of chromosomes, making it a tetraploid. In our card analogy, this guy has a full deck with all the suits. Polyploidy isn't just about growing crops or making bigger fish. Polyploidy is an important mechanism for generating new species, the process of speciation. Speciation occurs when the genomes of 2 populations of the same species become so different over time that they can no longer interbreed. Usually this takes place as a result of geographic separation or through slow change over a long period of time. But with polyploidy, it can be instantaneous. If a plant undergoes polyploidy, it is immediately unable to breed with others of its own species. But since many plants can produce asexually, or even have both female and male parts, they can copy or fertilize themselves. The new polyploid plant can therefore continue on for some time. In just one generation, it has founded a brand new species. Polyploidy is a condition of having more than two copies of chromosomes in a cell. Sperm and egg are haploid, or have only one set of chromosomes, so that when they come together, the resulting organism will be diploid. But when a sperm or egg ends up with two sets of chromosomes, the resulting offspring will have three sets of chromosomes, or be a polyploid. Polyploidy is common in plants and many crops, such as apples, potatoes, bananas, and grasses. Polyploidy is less common in animals, but some fish, reptiles, and one mammal, the red vizcacha rat, are polyploidy. Polyploidy changes the genome of the new organism so much that it might no longer be able to mate with the original species, resulting in speciation, or the creation of two species from one.